Chip, I got to send you a copy of this interview I did. Yeah. I did it with the imams of the biggest mosque in Las Colinas, and one of them halfway through just blurted out that, yeah, I mean, we all agree that hands should be chopped off, if you steal. As Texas goes, so goes America, and as America goes, so goes the rest of the world.
So how close is Texas to falling to Sharia law? Check out this clip over here with Glenn Beck talking to Republican Representative Chip Roy. We'll watch it together and then talk about what's really being said here. And before we dive in, make sure to hit the subscribe in the corner so we can keep these conversations going.
Chip, welcome. How are you?
Well, I'm doing great, Glenn. You just downgraded me, though. I'm a candidate for Texas Attorney General, not United States Attorney General.
Sorry.
But I am.
Yeah, you're right.
No. But I'm delighted to be running for Attorney General for the Republic of Texas.
Yes. Chip, when you saw this come from the governor, you and I have talked about things like this for a long time. That we should have done this with CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood a long time ago. Instead, under, I believe it started really under George Bush, but then it just got worse and worse and worse. We were letting CARE and the Muslim Brotherhood and everybody else into our own Department of Homeland Security, I mean, decades ago. Tell me a little bit about why it's important what Texas did, and then let's follow it up with enforcement of that.
Yeah, well, first of all, you and I have talked about this for a long time. As I think I've talked to you on your show, it was the last substantive conversation I had with Charlie Kirk, because it is very clear to me, it was clear to him, I think it's clear to you, that our side for way too long, even today, although I think it's waking up, have been asleep to the war on the West that has been in process now for decades. And everyone's waking up to London, they're waking up to Paris, they're seeing now Dearborn and Minneapolis, and then, oh my gosh, Mamdani. And then they're like, wait a minute, there's a problem in Texas too? And some of us have been saying that for a while, and going all the way back to the Holy Land Foundation, right? The Holy Land Foundation, which was a Dallas-Fort Worth issue 25 years ago. You and I talked about that last time. But for listeners, understand how long this has gone back. You've got unindicted co-conspirators associated with the Holy Land Foundation that are tied to CARE. You have CARE celebrating October 7th. You have all sorts of indications. In fact, a story yesterday in the New York Post, our friend Amy Meck and her great organization, they helped break that story and get it out in the world about the extent to which CARE is tied, and their financial ties, to the student issues on campuses, all of the connections that they've got to the radical terrorism, that we've got to connect all of those dots. And now enter the governor, I think appropriately. They've been targeting Epic. They passed something in the legislature this last spring, but we got to be much more aggressive. The governor is right to be aggressive here. This will give increased scrutiny and tools. And I've got to dive into exactly what those tools are with respect to what it opens up at the state level. But the mere statement by the governor that both, obviously dealing with the Muslim Brotherhood, but CARE, that CARE is in fact an organization that we should treat as such, is so critically important. Because it's masquerading as some, the Council on, American Islamic Relations, or it's crazy. And the idea that they should get tax breaks is insane, which is why I introduced legislation to take away their tax benefits. But that's the bare minimum. I can tell you, and I can't go too far into it, lots of really good conversations are occurring with the appropriate officials, law enforcement entities in Washington to follow the money. We've got to follow the money. I believe that there's a criminal organization that is connecting all of these dots. You and I talked about that before. It's not just the Islam issue and Islamification of America, but also the Soros DAs, the open borders, Antifa, Southern Poverty Law Center. And by the way, SPLC is now putting a target on me because I'm daring to speak out about this. It's all connected. It's all connected, Glenn.
So what is it the state can do? I mean, first of all, I think for anybody who doesn't understand, and Texans, wake up. If you lose Texas, you lose the West. As Texas goes, so goes America. And as America goes, so goes the rest of the world. And if you're looking at Dearborn, you're looking at, these places in Minnesota, and you're seeing that, and you think that's not related to you. It is worse in Texas. The numbers in Texas are staggering. And just what's happening in the small little town that my studios are in. It's the most diverse zip code in America, Las Colinas, Texas. And I've been ringing this bell for 12 years. When I first got there, I started doing stuff on the Sharia law, the movement to bring Sharia law to Las Colinas, Texas. And Chip, I got to send you a copy of this interview I did. Yeah. I did it with the imams of the biggest mosque in Las Colinas. And one of them halfway through just blurted out that, we all agree that hands should be chopped off, if you steal. And I just let him go for a while. And it was clear Sharia law is happening. And now they have put the Sharia courts into place to handle things because, it's their right to handle it as a religion. No, not when it comes to usurping the Constitution of Texas or the United States of America. And that's happening now in Texas. So give the person who's not necessarily paying attention some idea of what is coming and is here already in Texas.
Well, first of all, you've got an explosive growth of the mosques that are growing in Texas. We've got over 300 and counting, more being planted in Texas every day than any other state in the union. You've got the Islamic Center down in Houston, which is 150,000 square feet, that has, major issues. You notice you saw that imam down in Houston that was going around saying, well, you can't put this on the shelf. They're trying to take over and change what should be being done down there. That's implementation of Sharia. There are activist Sharia courts in Texas, which the governor rightly yesterday said that they're going to go shut down because they're in conflict with Texas law.
We just watched a clip that should stop every thinking person in their tracks, because this isn't just about Texas alone. It's not about one election and not about care or court case organization. As Glenn said, rightfully so, when Texas goes, so goes the West. What we are witnessing right now is something much bigger. It's actually the polarization of the world. Good is no longer hiding, and neither is evil. For decades, the West tried to blur the lines between right and wrong, between truth and lies, between morality and moral confusion. But that era is ending. Today, the world is dividing again, not by race, not by nationality, but by values. And when that happens, history teaches us something chilling. The West, in some ways, is turning on Israel. And that feels disturbingly familiar, not identical to the 1930s. It's recognizable in spirit. Back then, the Jews were told they were the problem. They were Untermenschen. They were dangerous to have around. They didn't belong. Today, Israel, the country, is told the same thing. But notice something important. Where are most of the Jews today? They're no longer scattered the way they once were. More than half the Jewish people are back in Israel. That has never happened before in history, that a nation should be dispersed and returned to the land. And those who remain in the West are starting to feel it. Across Europe, across college campuses, and now increasingly in America. With the rise of radical Islamic ideology and political figures like Mamdani and movements that make Jews feel unsafe in cities like New York, New Jersey, many Jews, and Texas. So many Jews are quietly asking a question their grandparents once asked. How long do we really belong here? This is not paranoia. It is pattern recognition. The Torah speaks directly to moments like this, and specifically this moment. In Zechariah chapter 12, It describes a time when the nations of the world will turn against Jerusalem. And it says something astonishing, that those who rise up against Jerusalem will fall, and even the weakest among them will be like King David. Not because of military power, not because of politics, but because history does not bend forever away from truth. The polarization we see today is not random. It's not just cultural. It's not just political. It's biblical. The world is being forced to choose sides again, light or darkness, truth, distortion, ego or God. And the West still has a choice. It can decide which side of history it wants to stand on, whether it wants to defend values that build it or abandon them. And Jews in the West also have a choice: to ignore the call or to begin asking if perhaps the land is calling them home. We do not know exactly how this ends, but Jewish history has taught us something uncomfortably consistent. No matter how safe it feels, no matter how integrated and assimilated we become, no matter how successful we are, in the end, we always return, not out of fear, but out of destiny, to become one again, a united Jewish nation, representing God, and being Or Lagoyim, a light to the nation. History right now is accelerating. The lines are being drawn. The only question left is not what will happen. It is where we choose to stand when it does. Thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I'd love to stay in touch. Shalom from Israel.